What's up? Happy to have you on here.
Glad to be here.
It's been a little bit in the making. Go ahead and introduce yourself for people that might not know you.
I'm Eric Harper. I'm an MTSU Commit, shortstop at Nolensville High School.
Glad to have you.
Yeah, so Eric, I know you grew up and you went to Lipscomb. I just want you to explain that, talk about that a little bit.
So I went to Woodland first. Like my first year of middle school, I was at Woodland, and I reclassified because I felt like that was the best decision for me at the time. And when I reclassified, I had heard that it was better competition in private schools than it was public schools. So I looked at a couple private schools like Lipscomb, NBA, Ainsworth, and Lipscomb was the best option for me. So I just went with them.
So, how long were you at Lipscomb? What grades?
When I reclassified in the 6th grade, and I was there 6th, 7th, and 8th grade.
And then, what made you come to Nolensville?
Just I'd heard a lot of stuff about it. Like it was a good community coming up, and I felt like I could add to that and make it a better community.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, I know we played Lipscomb a couple times, like at Mill Creek. You guys weren't really that good, but now the high school is pretty good. But yeah, we're happy that you came over to Nolensville trying to compete for a state title this year. All right, Eric, I know you played with the Franklin Bombers. You started out. Can you explain a little bit about your travel ball experiences?
Growing up, I didn't really know if like this was really something I wanted to do. So I started playing with the Franklin Bombers at 9U. And then when I went to M3, that's like I started playing with M3 from 10 to 11U. And that's really when I knew, to be honest with you, that this was something that I wanted to do. And it was just the way that our coach went about like just preparing us for games and tournaments and stuff like that. Our head coach was Michael Coleman, former MLB baseball player, and it was just the little things he would do. Like sometimes we would have a game at 1:00, and he would make us show up 4 or 5 hours before the game to hit. It was just little stuff like that, and it was like I just knew that was what it takes to be great. Like we just hit constantly, hit, practice.
For those that don't know, I also played with M3. I played 9U and then 11, 12. And Coach Coleman, it was kind of like a weird situation. He's one of the coaches that made me fall in love with baseball. He was one of those serious 9U travel ball coaches. Like Eric said, he would have us out there 4 or 5 hours before the game sometimes, hitting. For me, too, that was like the time I knew like I wanted to do this. I wanted to play baseball. And Coach Coleman always like made it fun for us, but at the same time, he was super serious. And like me and Deacon have talked about for a lot of episodes, that's where that bell curve comes in again. He was the first one that really introduced that to me, and I think he did a great job of it too.
Yeah, that's like, you guys have talked about it a little bit just in passing while we're hitting and stuff like that, but hearing you say that and you guys having that experience so early, I had like pretty much the same experience as far as like serious baseball goes, but mine was a little later. It's probably 11, 12U with the team called SBA. But to have that like so early and just like set that game plan and get that foundation, and like obviously you both are great baseball players, so just to see how far you've come from back then, just all that hard work over so long a period of time is just cool to see.
Yeah, one thing also with Coleman was just like the energy he had. Like I was telling you about this a couple episodes as well, Deacon. Like we don't have that energy now in high school. I mean, I guess it's part of like maturing, and you're not 9 years old, so you don't have that kind of fire in you anymore. But that was like that's what I want to get at to play again, because that was fun for me. He would always rip us for stuff we didn't do right, but like stuff we did good, he was always cheering us on, and our energy just outmatched anybody else we played, and I think that's why we were so successful. We played a lot of games. We won a lot of games too because of that, I think so.
Mm-hmm. And then moving on from M3, Eric, where'd you go after that? What
Basically, I went back to the Franklin Bombers, but our name was changed. We were with a different organization. We were with Rawlings Southeast Mavericks for 14U, and then after that, still with the same team, but for 15U, we was with Hit After Hit, um, Outlaws, and then 16U. That's when I went to a new team under Ryan Mullins with back to the Raleigh Southeast Mavericks. My bad. Went back to the Raleigh Southeast Mavericks for 16U, but this is a different team. And this team was basically just for me to like get my name out there better than what I was doing before. Like I just need a little bit more exposure, get my name out there. I needed a different atmosphere around me. Like I needed players with the same mindset and the same goal as me. Yeah.
So you moved back to Mavericks to get just a better environment, better probably players around you because more players attract more scouts, more exposure. Can you name some of the players that you played next to? I'm sure me and Q have talked about a couple of them on the pod.
Yeah, I played with Ethan Robinson, a Vanderbilt commit, Ethan McIlvain, another Vanderbilt commit, Quentin, Alabama State, Jace Kirby, WKU, Bo Burklow, Liberty commit, but he's committed for football. Shoot.
I just wanted to like, what are like some of the things that you learned from playing with them? Like, because I know they all do different things. Like, how about like pregame, for instance? Like, what do they do pregame that may be different from you?
Just kind of the seriousness, like most of those people I just named were pitchers, and it's just like I get people need to be zoned in, but it wasn't even just them. Like I play with position player guys who they're always just so zoned in before the game, and I just like to be kind of laid back, chill, know what I'm supposed to do, and then when the time's ready, then I zone in. But it was just little stuff like that. Just as soon as they step into the ballpark, they were already in game ready mode. And it's just, there's nothing wrong with that, but that's just not how I am. Like, I get into game ready mode when we're in warm ups, stuff like that. But, yeah.
Yeah, that's so true because, like, you can tell whenever Ethan is pitching that day, and you can tell when he's not pitching.
Yeah, that's what, yeah.
Also, another guy in our district, Ben Cleaver, I had a chance to play with him in travel ball. He was more of a laid-back guy. Like, I used to always ask him, like, Ben, are you ready? And he'd just be, like, brush it off on the days he was pitching. He'd be like, yeah, of course I'm ready, but it worked for him. He still went out there and he was still a dog. So it's just interesting to see how different they are. Because I can definitely tell by just looking at Ethan for about 5 seconds if he's pitching or not that day.
Yeah.
And that's like, we're going to talk about that later, but what you just described as far as yourself is like the Harper mentality that we talked about. So I'm excited to just learn more about that because we never really talked to you about that. What are some of your best memories from travel ball? You guys win a lot of tournaments.
My favorite memory is probably when I was I think this was 14U. It was our last tournament of the year. I think it was called like a Caba tournament. You remember playing in the Caba tournament?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
It's a week-long tournament in Nashville, Metal Bats.
Yeah.
And I think that week I went like 13 for 20, like .650, won MVP that week. That was probably my favorite memory. And then another one was this was when I knew like this was something that I could potentially start doing. It was going back to 11U. Wait, my bad.
You're good.
It's 10U early. It was 11U. Going back to 11U with M3. We're in Florida. Last tournament, it's a Disney tournament. We're playing this team from Puerto Rico, and the game is close. The entire game is 0-0 all the way up until the last inning. The guy in front of me lays down. My bad. Let me restart that whole inning. So, going into the last inning, our last batter was up to bat. Gets a single, steals second. Our first batter lays a bunt down, and he gets on base safely. Guy on second moves to third. The dude who bunted gets on first, and then I'm up to bat. If I get a hit, we win the game. And I knew like it was just the atmosphere of just M3, the parents, the players, Coach Coleman. It just was all that adrenaline. Like I knew I was about to get a hit, and I stepped up in the box and I saw the laces on the ball. And when I saw the laces on the ball, that's when I knew that like I kind of have a gift for this. Like I could really do this, and that was another one of my favorite memories.
That's amazing, bro.
Yeah.
That gives me chills. I'm not even gonna lie to you.
Yeah.
You were.
Yeah, 11. No, you can.
I just wanted to mention something like, have you guys seen Friday Night Tights and stuff
Oh,
like
yeah,
out the
yeah,
parents
yeah.
and stuff?
Friday Night Tights.
It's like the Pee Wee football and it's
Oh, Friday Night Lights.
no
Is it?
Tights.
Oh,
it's like
Tights.
about the
I think
little
there's
kids.
another one. There's
Oh,
there's like a
Tights.
couple, I think.
I've never seen the Tights. I don't know what
It's
you're
just like
I don't know what you're talking about.
it's like really competitive Pee Wee football, and anyway, the parents like are super into it, and I was like, that's M3 is probably the closest I've ever gotten, and probably the closest I'll ever get to something like that.
Yeah.
That atmosphere is just what made me love baseball too. So I actually have a lot of credit to give to M3. It really made me love the game even more.
From M3, like who, besides you two, or is there anyone else that's still playing at a high level, going places to go play in college and stuff?
You want me to take it or you?
You got it.
Well, that's when I was playing with Ethan Robinson for a little bit, and then I played with him again, 16, 17U. But he was part of that team. Q was part of that team. I was part of that team. Our shortstop at the time, Jaden Davis, he's at Sanford right now. Was there anybody else on that team who was like going?
I think Eli Lamb was on that team.
Oh, yeah.
Eli Lamb was on 12U.
Yeah, Eli Lamb. Eli Lamb was on that team. He's committed to Georgia Southern. I also forgot about Eli Huddleston. He's going to Tennessee Tech.
Right. Dang, I didn't realize there was that many.
Yeah, it's a lot. I think that might have been it.
Yeah, I think that's
I
it.
think
that's a lot of people. That's more than
Yeah.
I expected. I never really thought about that.
Do you guys stay in touch with Coach Coleman anymore? Like express gratitude or no?
Nah.
He gonna follow me on this.
Yeah, that's what
That's all me.
That's what it's like that.
Okay, I got you. Anyway, Q, you want to take it on to chapter 3?
All right, so we'll just go ahead and get right into chapter 3. This is like the off-season chapter.
Mm-hmm.
So for those that don't know, you play football and baseball.
Yeah.
You're good at both.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to know, like, how do you balance both in the off-season?
Our cameraman over there, you control this.
All right, bro. Chill out. All right, so we're gonna make our way into chapter 3, the off-season chapter. For those that don't know, Eric plays football and baseball. He's good at both. I just want to know, how do you balance both? Because football, I know you have summer workouts, and with baseball, I mean, the main part of baseball season is the summer travel ball.
Mm-hmm.
How do you balance both playing football and baseball?
So freshman year was really the easiest year because of COVID and all that. So we had more in-town tournaments, so I was able to go to both football and baseball at the time. But sophomore year was really the year it got a little harder. But Coach Derek, the head coach of the Knoxville high school football team, he was really good with allowing me to not come to some summer workouts and be able to go to some of the tournaments I was going to, which majority of them were week long, so I really wasn't at summer workouts that much. And then during my sophomore season, I was on the varsity football team, so at the time it was really cool to finally be on varsity. So I really wasn't taking baseball as serious as I should have been at the time, and I was really zoned in on football. And then junior year rolls around, still don't have an offer, so I'm like, I'm gonna have to start doing something. So after practice, and sometimes with Q, sometimes with Deacon, I would go over to the hit lab in Knoxville and go hit with them. I did that every Monday and Thursday, and then sometimes I would hit off the tee at my house. And then that really played a good factor with me going into my junior year, and it's the rest history type stuff. But,
Yeah, I played football my sophomore year as well, and
yeah.
the coaches were super understanding. It wasn't too hard to necessarily like balance both. Like people weren't getting upset at you for missing football or
Mm-hmm.
missing baseball or whatever. But it was just especially the summer was a little easier, but once we got into season, I was on varsity, but I didn't play. But there was no time to hit. There was no time to get in your baseball reps.
Yeah.
Getting home at 6:37 every night. I mean, you got to eat and hang out with the family and stuff like that. So that's what I noticed too. I didn't play junior year because I knew I just needed to fully devote it to baseball because I needed all the help I could get, I guess. And that's that last off season, just in the hit lab every day. Those are good times, good memories.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, baseball is like one of those sports that you can't really take breaks from. Like you can't go weeks without hitting and then just expect to pick it right back up. Like an example is in MLB playoffs, how number one seeds, they get buys and they don't play for about 5 days. So all it is simulated games. I'm using this excuse because I'm a Dodgers fan. That's why we lost. Is because we didn't have no games in between the end of the season and the first postseason, our postseason matchup. So, like, baseball is one of those things where you have to keep consistently doing it, or else, you're gonna get beat.
So my dad had he made it to the NFL. He played for the Colts and the Titans. So he knows what it takes to get there. Regardless if you go straight out of college, and regardless if you go to the Canadian League, which was the route he took, regardless if you go JUCO, nobody's route to the league, regardless if that's NFL, MLB, NBA, is never easy. So he's always tried to teach me that growing up. So our workouts, what I be trying to explain to Q and Deacon sometimes, they're a little different. And it has also something to do with my body type. So after practice, well, right now we're in what they call
Open
facilities, which is where we're just out there for an hour and a half. So we're really not in real practices yet. So I'm still able to work out. So after that, I go home. Right now, I'm just doing only legs because I want to keep my upper body limber and loose. And this is where they start looking at me like I'm crazy. So I do 4 sets of 20 squat, and then I do 3 sets of 15 lunges, and then I do 3 sets of 10
Leg extensions?
Yeah, leg extensions. Then I do 3 sets of 10 leg curls. Now I do 5 sets of 10 deadlift. And this is all with heavy weight because my dad's there. He spot me through everything. And then we do calf raises to end everything off. And then sometimes we do box jumps. Sometimes we do jump rope. It just depends on the day. And right now, that's just a Monday, Wednesday, and Friday thing because I'm not doing upper body no more. So yeah, that's kind of my workout, my off-season grind, after school, after the football season type stuff.
How much you throw in the bar for your squats? I'm kind of curious.
You talking about for rep or my max?
No,
I've never
for rep. Like if you're doing,
rep.
You said 4x10.
No,
or,
4x20.
Sorry.
4x20. Now I'm not even gonna lie. The bar at my house, we have a one of those where it's like hooked up to it, so it's not like
a Smith machine.
Yeah. It's not a loose bar.
Yeah.
So which means the bar is like, I think it's like 15 pounds or something like that. So I put on a 45, a 35, and a 10. So whatever that is, like 190, 200 something like that.
That's crazy because everybody's different. Me and you have different body types, but I'd probably pass out if I did that. All my stuff is like pretty low sets. I'm 3 to 5 sets, 3 to 5 reps, but insanely heavy for everything.
Yeah.
So I really was going to talk to you about this earlier, but is there any difference for you from the couple months? You've been out of football, 2 months, a month or something? Like, is there anything you're trying to do to get your body in a different sort of way for baseball? Because, Jordan talked about how it was just so hard for him to get his body from baseball back to basketball. Is there anything like that for you?
Yeah, it's not as hard because, coming from football, running constantly 24/7, my body's constantly in shape. So it's like going from football just straight into workouts for baseball season. It's really not that hard as it seems to most people, but the reason I do it is because I'm trying to gain weight. Each off season I've gained 10 pounds. This season I've gained 11 pounds, which is it's pretty good. But yeah, that's it.
I want to stay on this subject a little bit because this is just like it's
This is fun.
unorthodox, but it works for you. You told me about like your lifting schedule a while back, and you said something like outrageous number for reps and squat. I was like, there's no way. Like I wouldn't even be able to do that. You said like one set was like 40 or 50. I don't know if that's right, but I was like, I do 40 or 50 in my whole workout.
Yeah, no, that was. I remember. I know what you're talking about. That was last year. That was only with the 45-pound plate on each side. That was.
So you guys emphasize like muscle endurance, like strength through endurance.
Yeah, most definitely. Muscle endurance. That's really the biggest thing that my dad works on a lot.
And that's definitely from his football background.
Yeah.
Because that was a huge part of why we wanted to talk to you about that. It's just like that background coming to yours. And also, as we were talking about that, I was thinking you play safety, DB, got the best eyes on the football field.
Mm-hmm.
And what you were talking about, just your eyes in baseball, like how you saw those laces.
Mm-hmm.
Does that have anything to do with it, just reading quarterback eyes, reading the laces? Like, do you notice that or no?
I think that just has to do with like my dad's athleticism, just that being passed down to me. That's never really been something I had to work on, like hand-to-eye coordination, having good eyes, reading the quarterback. That's kind of just been like second nature because it's always something he's always taught my older brothers, and I always made sure that the mistakes they made, I didn't want to make the same mistakes. So that's why, I joke around sometimes, but on paper, for football, I'm definitely the best high school athlete to come through the family, most definitely.
And then, speaking on that, sorry Q, but are you and your brothers training a lot together? Like, have you learned a lot from them? Kind of like you watched the Ethan episode.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about like how Chris was to him. How were your brothers for you? And can you talk about their path a little bit?
Yeah, my brothers, I used to work out with them, not anymore because my oldest brother, he doesn't play football anymore. And then my second oldest, he's in college right now at Tennessee State University, finishing out his last year. But just the stuff I've learned from them, and I ain't gonna lie, it's not really me learning for them, it's me just always being there while my dad was teaching them through their mistakes. Like, just me always learning, never just being there just to be there. I always picked up on everything, and it was just little things. Sometimes, as a DB, you want to back up with your inside foot, and it was just little stuff like that. You could easily back up with your other foot, but my dad's like, no, the scouts are gonna look for it this way, so you have to do it this way, and that's something I always just learn.
So how was your dad? How did your dad help you? Because would you say your dad knew more about football than baseball? I would assume so if he played.
Yeah, his first love was baseball though, and a lot of people don't know this. And in high school, he could have kept playing in college, but in high school his senior year, I think he had I remember him saying he had 500 something, and he thought he was supposed to win MVP. And the person that gave it to hit 400 something, but I think he had 2 errors, and my dad had 4 or something like that. So I mean, they gave it to him because he was a better defensive player, and that really didn't sit well with my dad, and that's why he kind of fell out of love with the sport, and that's the reason he quit baseball and just stuck with football.
Okay, Eric. So you were talking about just observing all that stuff from your brother's mistakes, and I really respect that. Because that's kind of what learn and turn is to me. I know I say learn and turn is something different to me every time, but I mean, every time we're taking ground balls or every time we're hitting, I actually am observing you as well, trying to see your mistakes, trying to see what you do well. So that's pretty dope that you did that too from your brothers, and I'm grateful that you can be my teammate and I can learn from you as well. Talk to us about your off-season hitting. I know you talked about Hit Lab. Joey, I know you're one of his main guys and you're in your garage hitting or wherever it is, but talk to us about that.
So I talked about it a little bit earlier about how the off season it didn't start till junior year when I started hitting during the football season. Freshman and sophomore year I wasn't doing it. I still didn't have an offer. I was like this ain't gonna work. Gotta change some stuff around, and so I started to take it a lot more serious. And it wasn't until junior year where I was like that's really what scouts really look for is can you hit? Like your defense could be like phenomenal, but if you can't hit the ball, you're not gonna get on the field.
Yeah.
You're not gonna get in the lineup. So that's when I really started taking hitting extremely serious junior year, and I just hit every day. Junior year, I wound up hitting 400, which was the best I've ever hit in my entire life for average. And then this year, I'm looking to do the same thing, but this year I'm looking to hit 500.
One of the things we talked about, me and Hudson, or like whenever we were on the Coach Hudson was on the pod, we were talking about how much recruiting has changed, and like now that they don't look for fielders, like years ago you could get recruited based on your fielding. Now it's just they look to see if you can hit, and then once you get there, they're like, okay, can you play here? Can you play here? They just want to like throw you out there somewhere. Like if you can hit, you're gonna be on the field.
Yeah.
It's completely changed. So a lot of guys like you have like changed their whole training regimens like to be mainly hitting now, and like defense suffers from it a little bit.
Which is funny because if every team's doing that and dudes are spraying balls over the yard, but you don't got good defenders, like it's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
So that's defense is still important. That's the thing. But as you're talking about recruiting, this is a perfect segue. Who were you talking to? Talk to us about Coach Childs. How many offers you got? Stuff like that.
Coach Childs really took off. He really helped me take off my recruiting. So 16U, when I went to play for Ryan Mullins at Raleigh Southeast Mavericks, that was when I really started to get into recruiting and start to talk to some college coaches. After that summer, I had 2 coaches talking to me. One was Lipscomb and one was Davidson Academy. And then going into my junior year, I started to pop off a little bit, started to hit. Average was really high at the beginning of the season. And I started to get some more looks like Pepperdine, MTSU, Belmont, WKU. That was just some of the schools I was getting talked to.
You had a Cincinnati and Coastal Carolina or no?
Yeah, Cincinnati. Yeah, my bad. Yeah, I didn't have Coastal though.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
So for me, I think that this happened with you a little bit. Like recruiting was into 2 categories. Like one category was they were just talking to you, and another was they were actually interested in trying to make a move. I just wanted to know, like, were there any schools that were different? Like, I know MTSU was like actually pushing for you and recruiting for you. You said Davidson Academy, Lipscomb, all those other schools. Were they pushing as hard as MTSU to like get you to their school?
I feel like most definitely MTSU, Belmont, and I'm gonna put Pepperdine up there too. Those 3 were really the schools that were pushing for me the most. Belmont and MTSU are obviously local, so they were able to come out to my games. The reason I put Pepperdine up there is because they were really interested in me, but they never like offered me like a visit or like an official visit, unofficial visit.
All right, so for me, I'm an Alabama State signee, so I've been a little bit through the recruiting process, and I feel like recruiting is in 2 different categories. One category is they're actually pushing for you, trying to come and see you, trying to get you out of camp, and then I feel like there's another category that's almost they're like talking to you, but they're not really interested. They don't know what they want yet. And I feel like that's really draining as a player too, to just like you don't know if this school is actually is truly interested in you. I just want to know, did MTSU push as hard as the other schools on your list that were talking to you? Were the other schools as interested as MTSU was?
MTSU was definitely the most interested. I talked to a lot of their people on the coaching staff. I was talking to Coach Toman at the time before he resigned. I was talking to their assistant coach, talking to their infielders coach. I was talking to a couple of their coaches, so I really felt like they really wanted me to come there. I also went on a visit that same day I was offered, and they really showed me a lot of love, a lot of hospitality. It was just all good. But Pepperdine and Belmont, those were still two schools that were recruiting me hard, but I just didn't feel like they were recruiting me as hard as MTSU. Like, Belmont came to watch me play, I think once or twice. We talked a little bit, but they at some point they just stopped responding. It was really after I got the MTSU offer. And Pepperdine was, they were contacting me a lot. We did a unofficial visit virtual because they're out of California. After doing all of that, I thought I was gonna get the offer, but they just never. I feel like they wanted to see me in person or something. I don't know, but they never pulled the trigger. So I just went with MTSU.
Yeah, that's like so draining as a player because I know Deacon has had some experience with this too. Like you're talking to a coach, but like you don't know what they want. I mean, it's almost as if they're talking with you, just like playing with you. I feel like a lot of athletes, that's where like it hurts them too. Like they start to quit.
Yeah.
And they start to like give out after senior year. They're just like, okay, I'm not gonna push hard enough. Deacon, I would kind of want you to explain.
Yeah, I'd like to talk about it too. I mean, man, it's so heartbreaking, man. I'm not trying to like toot my own horn, but I think you both know how hard I've worked to like try and chase my goals.
Almost definitely.
And man, it's so frustrating. Like this summer, I had a pretty bad junior year as far as Nolensville goes. I was kind of a role player. Honestly, just never found my groove. Never was always uncomfortable, just trying to not make mistakes. And then summer came around. I've always played just more free in the summer. My summer coach gave me the opportunity. I was hitting leadoff or hitting 2-hole, and I mean we played in really good tournaments this summer, and I had a really good summer. I hit 420, bunch of doubles, played great in the field, and like bunch of different positions. Almost every tournament, I would have college coaches coming to watch me, and it was like they'd come up to me before the game, talk to me and my coach. I'd shake their hand, get their number, and then it was just nothing. Like I would play so good in front of them, and just absolutely like they'd show interest for a little bit and then just like let it go. So I mean, obviously I'm not as great of a player as you guys, but like I know what you're talking about. It's just super heartbreaking to see, and just for any of our teammates, I guess, or any baseball player working, just learn from it, because for me it's taught me so much. I just have learned, like I played so great and they didn't want to talk to me, they didn't want to offer me, they didn't want to get me on campus. But guess what? Like I can't control those things. So just go play great, and then hopefully that something comes up, because if you just play like you have nothing to lose, you're going to be playing at your maximum capacity with that Harper mentality sort of thing. So, sorry, I kind of rambled there, but
You good.
but yeah, so.
No, yeah, that's good. Like, my recruiting process was a little bit different, and I had to push for it more than, like, the average person would. I wasn't, like, that straight stud that just, like, had all the SEC schools calling them at a 7th grade summer, like something stupid like that. I actually went to a camp, and I emailed Alabama State's coaches, and that's how I got on their radar. And I did really well at the camp. I played good, and then that's how we like started to get in touch and stuff. And eventually they offered me like probably about a month or two later. So like my biggest takeaway from the recruiting process is that if nobody's really coming to look at you and showing true interest, you might have to take a little bit, like take it into your own hands at the same time. If you go to all these camps and then you're still not getting looks, either try and figure out the camps that work best for you. Like maybe you shouldn't be going to a Vandy camp. Maybe you should go to a different camp. But at the same time, don't get discouraged and keep pushing for it. I feel like that's really good. Your experiences, Deacon, that's really interesting. I know people on our team have had stuff like that as well.
Definitely. And I mean, it's a grind, but I mean, all you can do is just work hard and try to like be the best player you can be, and it's not over yet, so we'll see what happens. Right. But okay, going into that Harper mentality, can you kind of talk to us about that? Is it? I mean, everybody talks about DBs are like the cockiest player on the field. I don't think you're cocky, but the position, you got to have that kind of confidence, you know what I'm saying? Does that correlate to baseball? Talk to us about that.
Yeah, that's kind of how I've always played sports. Like, that was just kind of a given. Like, ever since I was shoot, 6 years old, I always felt like I was the best player on the field, no matter who was on the field. Like some people in the baseball world might know who Max Clark is, and I had a chance to play him when I was 12 years old. My bad. No, 13 years old. I got a chance to play him when I was 13 years old. But even with him being on the field, I still truly felt like I'm still the best player on the field. Like, that's just how I always just go about my sports. This is how I go about my work. But yeah.
That's like such a powerful mentality to have too, because you have to be confident in baseball, because baseball can humble you real quick. Like, you can have one game and I remember sophomore year for us, I had the worst game of my life. I don't think I'll have a worse game than that. Hopefully not, knock on wood. But like that mentality is so nice. I remember we were at a group lesson. It was me, you, Deacon, and Dylan Ruck at Joey, and Joey was like talking something about approach, and he was like, he asked you about your approach, and you were like, what do you think? Where are you thinking up there? He's like, I'm the best. And I was like, dude, I wish I had a little more of that just in me, because I feel like that would help so much. And that, like, in the game of baseball, we need more people like that, especially on our team too.
Definitely, man. It's like, it's a gift, man. I hope you realize that. Just never lose sight of that, because like, truly, you are like the best on the field almost every time you're on the field. And like, we saw that last year when you went down to, what was it, dislocated thumb?
Oh yeah, against Ravenwood.
Yeah, we really felt your presence missed. Even the game when you were like taking the ACT and like stuff like that.
Yeah.
So we always just need that mentality, and once again, that's something me and Q have both been observing and trying to learn from. So grateful for that.
All right, Eric, as we roll into this last chapter, we just want to talk about your expectations for the 2023 season. We know you mentioned this a little bit earlier. Start with the team goals. What do you want us to do as a team this year?
Well, the main goal is the state championship, obviously. But I just feel like we just need to play more loose. Like, in the past couple years, we've all just been trying to do too much. When we get out, nobody needs to be pounded about it. You need to take the good. Like, there's always good and bad in every situation. And regardless if it's a strikeout, a line out, a pop-up, just anything, you always need to say, well, what can I do better next at bat so that won't happen? Like, instead of throwing your helmet or throwing your glove or getting mad at somebody, like, there's just no point for that. There's no need for it, because you still got to hit. You still got another at bat. You still got a lot of stuff in the game. There's still a lot of game left. So that's really my biggest goal this year, is just trying to keep everybody at a calm level, just regardless if it's good or bad. Like, we just gotta know where we're at all times.
One of the big things I took away from what you said is process over results. We need that to be like the slogan. Like, I saw it on Applied Vision's post too. I was like, dude, that's so good. Like, we need that to be like the motto for Learn and Turn: process over results, because we hear it every episode.
No, it always comes up. And Eric, just like we were talking about, just with your leadership role you got on the team, just we need you to just keep sharing that mentality, man, because what you just said is so powerful, and it can take us a long way. I know it can. Any more you want to add to your personal goals?
Nope.
You good?
You good?
Okay. Thanks for coming on, man.
Anytime.
Okay.
Sorry.
We're out.